Long before motorcycles chased goats off village roads and before everyone carried a phone bigger than common sense, there was a peaceful Yoruba village called Ayetoro. The people of Ayetoro believed in two things above everything else: hard work and a good reputation. An old saying echoed through the village every market day. A poor man with a clean name sleeps better than a rich man with a guilty heart. Among all the villagers lived a young palm wine tapper named Akin. Nobody climbed palm trees like Akin. If a palm tree was so tall that birds got tired halfway, Akin would smile, tie his climbing rope around his waist and say, "Tree, today you are coming down in shame." The children loved him because he always brought them fresh palm fruits. The elders respected him because he never cheated anyone. Even old Mama Olake, whose eyes had become so weak she once greeted a goat as her younger brother, always said, "If Akin measures your palm wine, you don't need another calabash." Life was simple. Not rich, but peaceful. Then one Harmattan season, everything changed. The palm trees stopped producing enough wine. Day after day Akin climbed 30 trees only to return with barely enough to fill one pot. His customers disappeared. His roof began leaking. His sandals became so worn that his feet knew every stone on the road by name. One evening he sat outside his mud house staring into the empty cooking pot. His wife, sighed. The children slept without supper again. Akin lowered his head. "I climbed until my hands bled." Just then, a loud voice interrupted them. "Akin." It was Jagan, the richest trader in the village. Jagan always wore expensive clothes. He walked as though the earth paid him rent. He laughed too loudly. He smiled too quickly. And nobody knew exactly how he became rich. Jagan sat beside Akin. "My friend, why are you suffering?" "The trees have failed me." Jagan nodded sympathetically. Then he leaned closer. "What if I told you there is a sweeter way to make money?" Akin looked up. Jagan continued. "Deep inside Odo Forest lives a giant beehive." Everyone knew about Odo Forest. People said the bees there were so many they could chase an elephant until it apologized. Jagan grinned. "The honey sells for 10 times the normal price." Akin frowned. "But nobody goes there." Jagan laughed. "That's because people fear stories more than hunger." That night Akin could not sleep. He imagined his children eating pounded yam. He imagined buying a new roof. He imagined wearing sandals that still remembered what leather looked like. The next morning, he followed Jagan. The journey into Odo Forest was long. Birds stopped singing. Even monkeys avoided the place. Finally they reached it. A gigantic beehive hung from an ancient tree. Golden honey dripped slowly like melted sunlight. The smell alone could make a hungry man forget his own name. Jagan smiled. "You see," Akin whispered. "It is beautiful. It is wealth. It is happiness." Without thinking further, Akin climbed. Just as he reached for the honey, Jagan shouted, "Run!" The entire hive exploded into the sky. Thousands upon thousands of furious bees. Akin screamed. He jumped. He ran. The bees chased him across bushes, rivers and anthills. He dived into muddy water. Only his nose remained above the surface. The bees waited. For hours. When they finally left, Akin crawled home looking like a man whose face had borrowed someone else's swelling. Children burst into laughter. One little boy pointed. "Mama! Uncle Akin now has 2 foreheads." Even old Mama Olake squinted and said, "Who is this pumpkin walking toward us?" The whole village laughed until tears rolled down their cheeks. But Jagan had quietly collected the honey while the bees chased Akin. That evening he sold it for a fortune. Days passed. Then Jagan returned. My friend. This time we know how the bees behave. It will be easier. Akin hesitated. His swollen face had barely recovered. But hunger speaks loudly. Hope speaks even louder. Once again he followed. Again the bees attacked. Again Jagan escaped with the honey. Again Akin became the entertainment of the village. Children no longer called him Akin. They nicknamed him Brother Bee Hotel. Whenever they saw him they buzzed loudly and ran away laughing. Months passed. Jagan became richer. Akin became poorer. Yet every time Jagan promised. Just one more trip. Akin believed him. One afternoon the oldest man in Ayetoro, Baba Oromola, called Akin. My son, why do you keep returning to pain? Akin answered quietly. I only wanted my family to be happy. The old man smiled sadly. No. You wanted what looked like happiness. He picked up 2 calabashes. One was beautifully decorated with cowries. The other was plain. Inside the beautiful calabash, he placed bitter leaves. Inside the ordinary one, he placed sweet honey. He covered both. Choose. Akin quickly grabbed the decorated one. The moment he tasted it, he spat repeatedly. Baba, this is terribly bitter. The old man opened the plain calabash. Golden honey sparkled inside. Then Baba Oromola said words the village would never forget. My son, evil never arrives wearing ugly clothes. If it did, no one would invite it inside. It borrows the face of happiness. It borrows the voice of success. It borrows the smell of wealth. And before you know it, you are hugging the very thing that is destroying you. Those words struck Akin harder than the bees ever had. The following market day Jagan arrived again with his usual smile. My partner. The bees must have forgotten your face by now. The villagers laughed. But this time, Akin laughed too. He stood up. No, Jagan. The bees remember me. And today, so do I. He walked away. Instead of chasing dangerous honey, Akin began planting more palm trees. He repaired abandoned trees nobody wanted. He taught young boys how to tap palm wine properly. He started making palm oil. He learned basket weaving during the dry season. Money came slowly. Very slowly. But it stayed. Years later, while Jagan's greed finally caught up with him after he was exposed for cheating traders with watered-down honey, Akin had become one of the most respected men in Ayetoro. People no longer praised him because he was clever. They praised him because he had become wise. Whenever young people asked him the secret of his success, he would smile, touch the tiny scars the bee stings had left on his hands and say, I once believed happiness was hiding inside another man's shortcut. I nearly lost everything chasing sweetness. Real happiness grows like a palm tree. It takes time. But once it stands, it feeds generations. And whenever parents saw their children rushing after quick riches or easy promises, they would simply point toward the old palm grove and say, remember Akin and the honey. Not every sweet thing is good. Sometimes the brightest honey hides the sharpest sting. From that day onward, Ayetoro had a new proverb. The honey that comes too easily may belong to the bees. And the villagers never forgot that people rarely choose evil because they love evil. They choose it because, for a little while, it looks exactly like happiness. Moral of the story. No one chooses evil simply because it is evil. Most people choose it because it looks like happiness, success, or an easy solution to their problems. But shortcuts built on dishonesty, greed, or deception always carry hidden consequences. True happiness is not found in quick riches or easy gains, it is built through patience, integrity, hard work, and wise decisions. What shines the brightest is not always the safest, and what comes easily is not always worth having. Remember, not every sweet thing is good. Sometimes the brightest honey hides the sharpest sting.